Back, we continue live right here on Pittsburgh CW. Bob Pompeani and Gene Collier with you. The number is simple. It's 412-575-2600. Lots to talk about. Real quick, Pirates win tonight 7-2. Don't look now, but they're only 4 games out of first place in a real bad division. Cubs continue to lose. They lost again today. Can't figure this one out, but the Pirates are hanging in there by virtue more of anything else, the fact that this is a bad division. However, nice story. Jamison Tyone back from cancer surgery. Back 5 weeks ago, exactly to the day, Gene, and boy, he was terrific. What a mature young kid this is, and what an inspirational kid this is for the Pirates.
And what an unlucky kid he's been, too.
Yeah,
he's had so many bad things happen to him, both baseball-wise and this latest thing. He's really shown a lot of resilience and a lot of maturity, and God bless him, he looked great.
All right, let's go out to line 1. That's Gil in Ross Township. Hey, Gil, how you doing?
Hey, Bob, how are you?
What's going on?
Hey, I just would like to make a point. You know, you guys, Ian's already touched on a couple of things that I was going to talk about, but I was just wondering, you know, like, it seemed like a lot of your colleagues were a little pessimistic throughout the Penguins preseason, and even more so in the postseason. The Penguins, you know, I mean, we all know they showed adversity through the injuries and whatnot, but during the whole season, they got through it and made it to the playoffs, and as a fan, not once did I think there was no way we're going to get past, like, Columbus. There's no way we're going to get past Washington. You know, there's no way we're going to get past Ottawa. There's no way we're going to get past the Predators. I never stopped believing in that team. They have the depth. They have the talent. They're just a well-rounded organization.
They have a man behind the bench
so
who knows
my
how
point
to
is why maybe some of your colleagues were so doubtful through
because of injury. I think it was injury, and just given what, you know, first of all, I was on the record before. I picked Pittsburgh beating Anaheim to win the Stanley Cup on April the 14th, I think it was. So I thought the Penguins had enough. I saw them, Gene. The one thing I saw, they dealt without Chris Letang for a large portion also of the regular season. And they seem to have, you know, guys stepping up. And given, you know, their championship mentality from what I saw last year, I didn't have any, as long as Crosby and Malkin didn't get injured for a significant period of time, when you have those guys going at you, even without Letang, I thought they could have won, and I predicted they would, so they would. I wasn't pessimistic. I think most people are realistic, though, aren't you? That's what it comes down to.
Well, I picked the Predators. I also picked the Capitals. So if that, but that, you know, that's not my that's not my, as Bob said, not my definition of being pessimistic. That's, you know, I'm trying to be dispassionate about it. That's what I'm supposed to be doing, in my view. But you know, I did not think the Penguins were incapable of winning the Stanley Cup based on Chris Letang alone. I was not among.
I know Ron was. Ron thought they wouldn't do it.
I was not among the people who thought that, but I did think, as they got more and more injuries as the season went on, and it looked to me like they were not going to be able to put together a competent enough defensive core to go all the way. That's kind of why I picked the Predators. And I was wrong. And, Bob, it's the first time I've ever been wrong.
You're always right, Gene.
Yeah.
I'll testify to that. Let's go to Don in Mount Washington. Hey, Don, how you doing?
Hey, Bob. Hi, Gene. How you doing?
Hey.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that both the goalies were awesome, and both of us were right about picking the Penguins at 6. And what do you think about that blown call, the whistle with the goalie that they waved off?
To me, that was a bad call, and I thought the Penguins got a break. But you need breaks, and they took advantage of the break. So I'm not going to change my mind on that. I think it was a bad call. Gene?
Yeah, it was a bad call. It was a mistake by the official. But if you lose track of the puck, you have to blow the whistle, and that's what happened. I mean, you know.
Thankfully, they don't overturn that based on, you know, I mean, you can do a lot with replay. If that starts happening, then just don't even give anybody whistles.
Hey, just hang around a couple of days. Maybe there are a couple of goals we missed that they're going to take back.
Maybe so. Carol in Clinton. Hey, Carol, how you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
Okay,
Hey,
thanks.
Carol.
Hey, I just wanted to say that the Penguins, even when they were losing games through all of their series, they never did any of that message-sending stuff. And I think that makes them such a first-class team all the way through. They really believe in Mike Sullivan's message of just play.
Isn't it amazing? Thanks for the call, Carol. And Gene, she's right. I mean, you talk about zero in. Coaches before Mike Sullivan, maybe he preached it, whatever. He has a way of getting through to them to the point where they do, for the most part, ignore a lot of that stuff that used to define what they did, and we saw it specifically in 2012 in that series against the Flyers.
Sure. Yeah, Mike Sullivan is a guy. He is one guy who's been in Pittsburgh now just a couple of years, but he's one guy in the history of Pittsburgh sports who really does not get enough credit, in my view. The job he's done with this team through every adjustment he had to make, and not just in terms of personnel, Bob, but in the midst of series,
right,
tactically, strategically, everything he did worked out, including in the insertion of Matt Murray there. I was completely against that. I did not think that was going to happen, but Mike Sullivan was right again, and he's amazing. He's done an amazing job.
And by the way, a report out of Montreal today by a journalist who is well respected indicates that Marc-Andre Fleury had told the Penguins back in February that he would waive no movement clause specifically for Las Vegas. So if that's happened, then that means that's exactly what's going to happen. And I know the Fleurys are probably looking forward to moving on, and the chapter here in Pittsburgh will be over, but not without another Stanley Cup. Rich in Altoona. Hey, Rich, how you doing?
Good, gentlemen. Thanks for taking my call. Bob, great lead into what I want to say. First of all, everything that's being said about the Penguins just enhances what they've just accomplished. I mean, it's incredible, all the injuries they overcame. And without Marc-Andre Fleury, they don't win this cup. He took out Columbus, and he took out Washington. Right. And there wasn't one other team in the league that had two Stanley Cup winning goaltenders on the ice at the same time. And next year, when Fleury's not here, Penguin fans might realize how valuable Marc-Andre Fleury was and is.
I think they know that. I really do. And I think you see when he returns to town, when they put the video tribute up and what the reaction will be. I think they love Marc-Andre Fleury. I think he's accomplished quite a bit here. I don't think there's anybody out there. I mean, you're going to have people, there are haters everywhere, Gene. We find them on our show all the time. So, but the bottom line is they have to make a decision here. They have to do something moving forward. Murray is the franchise guy, and if he plays 60 to 65 games, you don't need Marc-Andre Fleury, who would rather probably start, which is why I suppose he waived the no movement clause.
Yeah, probably. Marc-Andre Fleury has been a beloved figure in Pittsburgh, and rightly so. He's treated everybody with respect and dignity the whole time he's been here. He's never complained. But it's time to go. I mean, this is the way the system is set up. For the Penguins to have two Stanley Cup winning goaltenders, other teams look at that and say, well, that's not fair. And that's why this system is in place.
Yeah, there's no question. And, the bottom line, too, getting back to what the caller said earlier, Penguins have gone through an awful lot. Ian Cole said he had broken ribs and a hand injury that he played with since the Washington series. Bonino has a broken leg, basically. Still tried to give it a go. Hornquist, a broken finger. These guys have a pain threshold that we could never understand.
Can't do it. Compare it to baseball.
Yeah. We'll take a break. 412-575-2600. We'll try to get more calls on and more tweets. And a lot of them coming in. Stick around. That's coming up next.